Okay, so we've got some research on fluid intelligence consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
even this thing called relational structure mapping.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like we are going deep on how our brains adapt to new situations and problem solve.
Yeah, it's really fascinating stuff. You know, we've known for a while that fluid intelligence is really important for thinking quickly and problem solving,
Right.
but we didn't really understand how it works, sort of on a deeper level.
It's like knowing your car can go fast, but
Yeah.
not knowing anything about the engine.
Exactly. Yeah, and now there's this idea of relational structure mapping that seems to be at the core of fluid intelligence.
Relational structure mapping.
Yeah.
Okay, break that down for him.
So think of it like this. You see a small circle above a big square, right?
Okay.
Then you see a small triangle above a big rectangle. Even though the shapes are different, you instantly get that the relationship is the same.
Yeah, the relationship between them. Yeah.
Exactly. You're not just focused on the individual elements. You're seeing the bigger picture, the underlying structure of the relationship.
Got it.
And that's a key part of how fluid intelligence operates.
So every time I'm figuring out a new puzzle or grasping some new concept,
Mm-hmm.
my brain is doing this relational structure mapping in the background.
Yeah, you got it.
Wow.
And what's even cooler is that this seems to be linked to how our brains actually physically represent these relationships.
What are you saying? The physical structure of our brains changes when we're thinking?
Well, not permanently,
Okay.
but there's this concept of dynamic binding where your brain forms temporary networks to connect different ideas.
Okay.
Like think of it as your brain making these lightning fast connections, building these tiny little neural bridges between concepts.
So if I'm trying to learn a new recipe,
Mm-hmm.
my brain is creating these little connections between all the ingredients and the steps and the cooking times.
That's a great example, yeah.
Ah,
And the strength and the accuracy of those connections, those bindings, seem to be directly related to fluid intelligence.
huh.
People who can maintain those bindings more effectively, keep those connections clear and stable, they tend to have higher fluid intelligence.
This is like having a really well-organized mental workspace,
Mm.
where you can pull up different information,
Yeah.
connect different things.
Okay. And here's where it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
The sources you sent, they dive into the evolution of consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems like fluid intelligence might have actually played a pretty crucial role there too.
Well, hold on. Now, consciousness,
Yeah.
fluid intelligence.
Yeah.
How are those two even connected?
Well, think about it. As our ancestors developed better relational reasoning skills and the ability to manipulate more complex mental representations, they could see deeper connections
Yeah.
and understand their environment in a more nuanced way. That ability to form and manipulate those complex mental models may have actually paved the way for greater awareness.
So the better we got at seeing patterns and making connections,
Yeah.
the more conscious we became.
It's a pretty mind-blowing thought.
It
And it really highlights just how fundamental fluid intelligence is, not just for problem solving, but potentially for our very experience of being aware.
Right.
But as with many things related to consciousness, there's still a lot we don't know.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
That just makes it even more fascinating.
It does.
Okay, so we've got this relational structure mapping happening in our brains,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even linked to the evolution of consciousness.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, why is this ability so powerful? Like, how does it actually make us better thinkers, better problem solvers?
That's the key question, right?
Yeah.
Well, the sources you shared highlight several reasons why fluid intelligence, powered by this relational structure mapping, is so crucial.
Okay.
First, it allows us to generalize our knowledge,
Okay, generalized meaning what exactly?
meaning we can take what we've learned in one situation
Right.
and apply it to a completely different one.
Okay.
We're not just stuck with these rigid facts. We can see the underlying principles and relationships that connect different scenarios.
So it's like learning to ride a bike.
Mm-hmm.
Once you understand the balance and the coordination involved,
Yeah,
you can apply those skills to skateboarding or even skiing,
exactly.
even though the activities are different.
You've grasped the relationship, not just the specific details.
Okay.
This ability to generalize is what allows us to learn and adapt so effectively.
This is starting to click for me now.
Good.
What else makes fluid intelligence so impactful?
So fluid intelligence also lets us think flexibly
Okay.
because we're not bound by these rigid rules or pre-existing knowledge. We can adapt to new situations and tackle problems we've never seen before.
So we're constantly updating our mental models,
Exactly.
adapting to new information,
Yeah.
making new connections as we go.
Precisely. And this ties into another key benefit, efficient learning.
Okay.
When you can see the relationships between concepts,
Yeah.
you can grasp new ideas much faster.
Makes
It's
sense.
like having this mental filing system that's organized by connections, not just isolated facts.
No, why can't my actual filing system be that organized?
Right.
Okay, I'm seeing the bigger picture here, but there was one more thing, right?
Yeah.
Something about creativity.
Fluid intelligence is also deeply linked to creativity, that spark of innovation, the ability to combine ideas in unexpected ways, to see possibilities that others might miss. It all stems from understanding the relationships between those ideas.
So if you're trying to write a song
Mm.
or design a new product or even just come up with a clever solution to a problem at work,
Mm-hmm.
having strong fluid intelligence can give you a serious edge.
Absolutely. It's like having a mental toolbox full of concepts and the ability to see how they might fit together in new and exciting ways.
Right.
But we shouldn't forget there's another crucial element to fluid intelligence that we need to explore.
Okay.
The sources you sent also highlighted the importance of cognitive segmentation.
Cognitive segmentation.
Yeah.
That's a new one. Fill me in.
Think of it as your brain's ability to break down complex problems into smaller, more manageable parts.
Ah, so it's like taking a huge project and dividing it up into smaller tasks.
Exactly. It's about strategically focusing your attention on the most relevant information, tackling one piece at a time, and then integrating those pieces into a cohesive whole.
And this is important for fluid intelligence because,
Because without cognitive segmentation, even the most brilliant mind would just get completely overwhelmed by complexity.
yeah,
Imagine trying to solve a 1,000-piece puzzle all at once.
right.
It's just too much to process. You need to break it down into smaller sections to make any real progress.
Makes sense. So it's like fluid intelligence gives us the raw processing power,
Mm-hmm.
and cognitive segmentation gives us the organizational skills to actually use that power effectively.
Wow. That's a great way to put it. And the sources suggest that people with higher fluid intelligence are particularly good at this mental organization. They
Okay.
can chunk information more efficiently, prioritize tasks more effectively, and keep track of the relationships between different elements with greater ease.
So it's like having a super efficient project manager living inside your head.
Exactly. And that ability to manage complexity is crucial for everything from learning new skills to making strategic decisions to navigating the ever-changing landscape of our lives.
Wow, this is all really eye-opening.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground here, but I feel like we're just scratching the surface of this fascinating world of fluid intelligence.
It is fascinating.
Before we move on, are there any key takeaways you think our listeners should really hold on to from this part of our deep dive?
I think the most important takeaway is this fluid intelligence is not some fixed trait that you're either born with or you're not. It's a dynamic ability. And understanding how it works through mechanisms like relational structure mapping and cognitive segmentation gives you the power to nurture and enhance it throughout your life.
That is empowering.
Yeah,
It is.
I like that.
And that's a truly empowering thought, isn't it? Knowing that we can shape and strengthen our own cognitive abilities.
It is, but it makes me wonder, what are some practical steps we can take to actually boost our fluid intelligence? Are we talking brain games and puzzles, or are there other ways to kind of flex that mental muscle?
Well, those brain games and puzzles are definitely a good starting point. Anything that challenges your relational reasoning and problem-solving skills can be beneficial.
So Sudoku crossword puzzles, maybe even a good escape room.
Exactly. Those activities force you to think, critically identify patterns, and make connections between different pieces of information, which are all key aspects of fluid intelligence. But I'm guessing it's not just about puzzles and games, right? There must be other ways to keep those mental gears turning.
Absolutely. One of the most effective ways to enhance fluid intelligence is to constantly engage with new information and challenges. Learning a new language, picking up a musical instrument, or even diving into a new field of study can all push your cognitive boundaries and strengthen your mental agility.
So it's about keeping your brain active and engaged, constantly learning and exploring new things.
Precisely. And don't underestimate the power of stepping outside of your comfort zone. Trying something that feels challenging, even a little bit intimidating, can do wonders for expanding your cognitive horizons.
It's like if you always stay within the same familiar mental territory, your brain gets complacent, right? But if you venture out into uncharted territory, it forces you to adapt and grow.
That's a great analogy. And remember, it's not just about acquiring new knowledge, it's about actively engaging with that knowledge, making connections, and applying it in new ways.
So maybe instead of just passively reading a book, I should try summarizing the key points or discussing it with someone else to solidify my understanding.
Exactly. Engaging with the material in a more active way helps to strengthen those neural connections and build those cognitive muscles.
Okay, I'm starting to see a pattern here. It's all about staying curious, seeking out challenges, and actively engaging with new information and experiences.
That's the key. And remember, it's never too late to start. Your brain has incredible plasticity, meaning it can continue to adapt and change throughout your life.
That's encouraging to hear. But before we wrap up this discussion, I have one more question that's been nagging at me. We've talked about how fluid intelligence works in humans, but what about artificial intelligence? Can AI replicate this type of flexible, adaptable thinking?
That's a fascinating question, and it really gets to the heart of what makes human intelligence so unique. While AI has made incredible strides in recent years, particularly in areas like pattern recognition and data processing, it still struggles when it comes to tasks that require true understanding and flexible reasoning.
So AI can beat a grandmaster at chess, but it can't figure out how to make a cup of coffee if the coffee machine is moved to a different spot in the kitchen.
That's a simplified way of putting it, but you're getting at the core challenge. The sources you sent suggest that one of the key hurdles is that AI systems tend to excel at either symbolic reasoning or continuous representations, but not both at the same time.
Okay, back up for a second. What do those terms even mean?
Good point. Symbolic reasoning is basically the ability to manipulate abstract concepts and symbols like we do with language or mathematics. It's about following rules and applying logic. Continuous representations, on the other hand, are about dealing with the messy, nuanced complexities of the real world. It's about recognizing patterns, making inferences, and adapting to change.
So symbolic reasoning is like following a set of instructions to assemble furniture, while continuous representations are like trying to navigate a crowded street market where there are no set paths or rules.
That's a great way to visualize it. And the problem is that most AI systems are really good at one or the other, but not both. They can either follow rules perfectly, but struggle with ambiguity, or they can handle complexity, but lack the precision of symbolic reasoning.
So to truly replicate human intelligence, AI needs to be able to seamlessly switch back and forth between these two modes of thinking.
Exactly. It needs to be able to think both abstractly and concretely, to follow rules and break them when necessary to handle both the predictable and the unpredictable.
That sounds incredibly difficult to program.
Yeah.
Are researchers making any progress in this area?
They are. There's a lot of exciting work being done in developing hybrid AI systems that aim to combine the strengths of both symbolic reasoning and continuous representations. And there's also growing interest in developing AI systems that can learn and adapt more like humans do through mechanisms like relational structure mapping and cognitive segmentation.
So maybe someday we'll have AI systems that can not only solve complex problems, but also explain their reasoning in a way that makes sense to us humans.
That's the hope. But it's important to remember that we're still a long way off from creating AI that truly rivals human intelligence.
Well, I, for one, welcome our future robot overlords, as long as they can explain why they chose to rearrange the furniture.
Yeah.
Okay, we've talked about boosting our own fluid intelligence and the challenges of replicating it in AI. But there was one more fascinating connection in the sources that I want to explore, the link between fluid intelligence and longevity. Several studies have shown a correlation between higher fluid intelligence and a longer lifespan.
Wow.
Why do you think that is?
That's a really intriguing question, and while there's no definitive answer, there are a few compelling theories. One possibility is that people with higher fluid intelligence are simply better equipped to navigate the complexities of life. They're better at problem solving, adapting to change, and making healthy decisions.
So they're less likely, let's say, accidentally set their kitchen on fire while trying to cook?
Hopefully, yes. But it goes beyond just practical skills. Fluid intelligence is also linked to things like social intelligence and emotional regulation, which can contribute to stronger relationships, reduce stress levels, and overall well-being.
So it's like a cognitive buffer against the wear and tear of life.
That's a great way to put it. And there's also some evidence to suggest that people with higher fluid intelligence may be more cognitively resilient. They're better able to bounce back from setbacks, maintain mental sharpness as they age, and even resist the effects of cognitive decline.
So it's not just about living longer, it's about living better as we age.
Exactly. And while there's still much to learn about this connection, these findings highlight just how important cognitive health is to our overall well-being throughout our lifespan.
This has been such an illuminating deep dive. I feel like I've gained a whole new understanding of how my own mind works and the incredible potential that lies within it. Before we wrap up this journey into the world of fluid intelligence, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listener? Any final thoughts to leave them with?
I think the most important thing to remember is that fluid intelligence is kind of like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And just like any workout routine, the key is to find activities that challenge you and keep you engaged.
So it's not enough to just do the same crossword puzzle every day. I need to keep pushing myself with new and different mental exercises.
Exactly. Variety is key. Try different types of puzzles, games, and learning experiences. The more you diversify your cognitive workouts, the more well-rounded your fluid intelligence will become.
And it's not just about solitary activities, right? Engaging with other people, discussing ideas, and debating different perspectives can also be a great way to stimulate fluid intelligence.
Absolutely. Social interaction is a fantastic way to challenge your thinking, expose yourself to new ideas, and refine your ability to communicate and collaborate effectively.
So maybe instead of just scrolling through social media, I should actually engage in some meaningful conversations or join a book club.
That's a great idea. And don't be afraid to have those friendly debates and disagreements. Those moments of cognitive friction can actually spark new insights and help you see things from different angles.
I like that cognitive friction. It's like striking a match to ignite new ideas. Okay, so we've talked about the importance of variety, challenge, and social interaction. Anything else our listeners should keep in mind as they embark on their quest to boost their fluid intelligence?
One more thing I'd emphasize is the importance of mindfulness and self-awareness. Pay attention to how you approach problems, how you learn new information, and how you adapt to new situations. The more you understand your own cognitive processes, the better equipped you'll be to identify areas for growth and develop strategies to enhance your fluid intelligence.
So it's not just about doing the mental exercises, it's about being a mindful observer of your own mind at work.
Precisely cultivating that self-awareness can help you identify patterns, recognize your strengths and weaknesses, and ultimately become a more effective thinker and learner.
This has been such an incredible journey into the world of fluid intelligence. I feel like I've gained a whole new appreciation for this amazing cognitive ability that we all possess. Before we sign off, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listener? Any final words of wisdom?
Just this: never stop exploring, never stop learning, and never stop challenging yourself. Your mind is capable of incredible things, and the more you nurture your fluid intelligence, the more you'll unlock its extraordinary potential.
That's a great message to end on. Thanks for joining us on this fascinating deep dive into the world of fluid intelligence. Remember, keep those minds sharp, those connections flowing, and those creative sparks flying.